Welcome. My name is Rebekah Finafrock.
And my name is Aidan Sweeney.
And we are your hosts today. We thank you so much for tuning in to another rendition of the RedFlash Rundown. Today you'll be hearing from some of our student leaders here on campus about their experience in Greek life.
All right, I've got Josh Mills and Lindsay Kent here from Greek life to talk a little bit about what's going on in Greek life these days at St. Francis. So what would you mind telling us your fraternity and sorority you are involved in?
Sure. I'm Josh Mills. I'm a senior bio pre-med major, and I am a member of Phi Kappa Theta.
And I'm Lindsay Kent. I'm a senior nursing major, and I'm a member of Phi Delta Kappa.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about how maybe you got interested in Greek life and how did you get started in it?
So I guess my first exposure to Greek life was through my parents. Both my parents were Greek, and that was sort of something they encouraged me to check out when I got to college. And then, I followed through with the normal meet and greets and rushes and just, tried to check out everyone and see sort of where I fit in.
Yeah, I think I was a member of the basketball team in high school. You have your group of people, and when you come here and you might not have that right away and you don't really know anyone, you just kind of find where you fit in. And I just met a few people and they took me to some rushes, and here I am, honestly.
I think on a smaller campus, you see everyone walking around in letters, so it's kind of almost hard not to at least be interested and want to know what it's about. So just talk to people, and you find out so many people are in Greek life here, so it just kind of flows naturally from that.
Yeah, most of the events held around campus are hosted by Greek life organizations, so you kind of just see them. You attend those as a freshman who doesn't really know what's going on, and they kind of just bring you in like family.
They offer a lot of free food at Greek life events too.
Yeah.
That helps get people out from the community. So. Whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
Would you say that there's a personality for each fraternity and sorority, and there's kind of a good group for each individual who may be interested?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. I think each group definitely has their own vibe for sure. You just get that, as you hang out with them, get to know them, and meet them. Even I think some organizations have more maybe of one major than another, or something like that. So. Everyone's definitely kind of got their own feel, but at the same time, everyone, is friends and kind of gels together.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're looking for something very community service-based, you can tell really where those organizations are, and then if you're looking for a little bit more of a social aspect as well, you can ask them whether they're social or, service-based or both. I know some people are both. So, I think definitely you just kind of find where you belong, and just through the people, you just see kind of who you're compatible with.
I think right up front, most of the organizations tell you, who their philanthropies are, who their, advisors are, what they do on campus, what their events are. So I think and people pretty much follow their organizations that they're impacting, their philanthropies. So you kind of see what they're aimed towards with that.
And we're both lucky enough to have advisors that were actually members of our sorority and fraternity. So talking to them, and they get our name out there as well, and just advertising for everyone. And I think that's the biggest thing about Greek here is you're not necessarily advertising for your own organization, but just Greek life in general, and finding where you belong, and then advertising for your organization through that. But most of all, we're all rooting for each other to make Greek life bigger rather than individually, selfishly.
I think it's an interesting sort of dynamic at St. Francis too, because as far as I know, all of the fraternities are national or even international. So you kind of, some of the bigger names, you see them at bigger campuses and whatever, but we also have some local sororities along with national sororities too. And so as you're getting to meet people, you kind of see that too. And some you've seen at big schools, some you haven't heard of until you got here, but it's all part of our own Greek community.
Mm-hmm. How has Greek life impacted your lives?
Greek life has been a huge factor in my life. It's pretty much, I would say it shaped pretty much my entire college experience after my first semester. I don't want to say everything I do, but it's had at least some sort of impact on pretty much everything I've done in college so far.
Yeah, actually, I started out as a different major, and through the people I met, I ended up changing my major because I saw what they got to do, and that's how I realized that's what I wanted to do. So just meeting those people and just being with them and having that base of people that will support you no matter what has given me all the confidence, as well as the positions that I've been able to hold going to a smaller school and being in Greek life. If you want to hold a position, you pretty much can here, no matter what organization you're in, since we don't have 1,000 members like other schools. So just that itself has shaped me into a whole new person than when I came out of high school. And I was kind of just timid and didn't really know what was going on. And now I'm a lot more confident.
Yeah, I can absolutely say, I think, you hear a lot of fraternities and their mottos or whatever it is, they'll say, it's about building men. But I think that's certainly what being in a fraternity has done for me, in leadership positions, and just sort of, what's the kind of person you want to be, and how do you strive for that, and what do you do to make yourself become a man, in the case of a fraternity, or just become the kind of person and Christian you want to be, especially at St. Francis. That's a really driven mission, I think.
Okay. Obviously, Greek life is a family that, and that family has continued for generations through alumni of past time. How would you describe Greek life today to an alum that may be listening to this podcast?
I think mostly, you have to change with the times, obviously, and I'm sure that if they were in a Greek organization when it started, it was different than when they pledged or whatever. So I think it's important to realize what time period you're in and what to be careful of, but also what we stress in Phi Delta Kappa is keeping the traditions that matter alive. So things that will actually make you a better person. And if there's reason behind what you're doing, we're going to keep that, because that's what is promoting you to that next level of person, or that person that we want you to be, a strong, independent woman in our cases. So keeping the things alive that are necessary and getting rid of anything that maybe not necessary, and with the times that are changing, maybe a little bit unnecessary, people could say. So just deciding what's true to your organization and what ultimately will make you that better person, and keeping what matters and getting rid of the things that might give us a bad stigma.
Yeah, I think at least in our case, we've got a super good mix. Like Lindsay said, we're keeping a lot of our traditions that we think are important, and definitely not letting those go by the wayside. But at the same time, we're kind of evolving into a modern fraternity. And I mean, the whole Greek system, across the country and world, has certainly taken on drastic changes. But I think, we're kind of staying true to our roots, and even in our national fraternity, we still hold the same motto that we've had since 1959. That's still something we strive for every day and implement and learn during the new member process, and something we work towards. So I think it's an interesting mix of, keeping the traditions alive, like Lindsay said, that we think are really important and definitely add value to our organizations, but at the same time, keeping up with the times, and, modern recruiting and modern, new member activities, and how we can sort of keep things in check.
And the best thing about it is our alumni are so awesome and check up on us. We have those organizations, we keep in contact with everyone, our advisors, our alumni. So there's things that we do that they did, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was awesome when I did that. So you can relate to your alum, and then you can also inform them of what's new and what you've changed. So you always have that connection to where they can relate to you, and then you can also inform them of how you've changed and why you changed for any reason. And as long as you're upfront and everything, it's always just really awesome to see and have that connection with your someone who's 30 years older than you, and you did the same thing as them, and it's pretty awesome, just memories that you have.
Yeah, I think Greek life as a whole is changing, but it's also important to keep in mind that St. Francis is completely different too, maybe now, from when some of the alumni came through. So, some of the things we can do on campus, some of even the majors, computer science wasn't even a major maybe for some of our alumni as an option. So it's just important to keep in mind that, it's a new world, but at the same time we like to, connect with our roots and make sure we're staying true to, what our organizations are all about.
Hey everyone, it's Eric Correll, the Alumni Director at St. Francis. I hope you're enjoying another great episode of the RedFlash Rundown, which we'll get back to in just a minute after a couple quick announcements. First, have you joined the Alumni Association yet for the 2018-2019 fiscal year? If you haven't, there's still time to join and take advantage of all the benefits membership offers, including discounts at alumni events and at the bookstore, free tickets to various athletics games, and your donation supports the Alumni Association Scholarship, which benefits 8 kids on campus every year. Membership is just $30, so don't wait. Join now at francis.edu/alumni. That's francis.edu/alumni. Hey, you know about Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday, but don't forget about Giving Tuesday. On December 3rd, support St. Francis University and specifically the things that make you proud to call yourself an alumnus of SFU. Was it your fraternity or sorority, your academic department, your sports team, your club, or religious life? Whatever it is, support them and the university this December 3rd for Giving Tuesday. Make your gift then or even now at francis.edu/annual-fun. Again, that's francis.edu/annualfund with a hyphen in between. Thanks everyone for all you do for SFU. Now back to the Red Flash Rundown.
What would you say is your fondest memory since joining Greek life?
There's so many to choose from. There really are.
Honestly, like, that's a really tough question because it would be hard to pick a great memory because I don't even have any, like, really bad memories. Like, everything collectively makes you who you are. Some of my best memories might be in the positions that I held, not even, like, elected positions necessarily, but getting, like, your little and, like, developing that bond and helping them through the pledging process, or being a new member orientation person or whatever they call it now. And, like, getting those people and, like, seeing the changes that they go through to, like, and see what they become at the end and how great and how much they've grown since, like, the beginning of week 5 or whatever it is. So I think, and then just developing the leadership ability that you can and finding who you are. The philanthropy events are great, and, like, Phi Delta Kappa has, like, granted, like, 2 or 3 wishes since I've been in for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So just, like, and we get letters from our philanthropy saying thank you, and from these kids that, like, have been granted a wish to go to Disney World or whatever they choose. And, like, maybe canning outside of Walmart isn't that great on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m., but when you get that letter, it's worth it and then some.
Yeah, I would say, like Lindsay said, there's so many to choose from. I guess if I had to narrow it down, I would say number one, my bid day, accepting my bid was huge for me, just because I knew this was the start of something that was really going to shape my entire life, as we said before. So I think that was really important. And then just this past bid day when I was the pledge master, and it meant a lot to me knowing that my brothers trusted me to lead, like, this new group of members, and they trusted me to uphold the values of the fraternity and make sure that everything was going to go in the right direction. So that meant a lot to me. It's just seeing how far I've come from, not even being in Greek life into holding what I consider a position that's really super important and holds a lot of power. So that's probably my fondest memory.
So going off that, Greek life has produced, some would say, the foremost leaders on this campus. How do you believe that you have grown as a leader since joining your organization? I know, Lindsay, you mentioned a lot of leadership positions you held. Josh, you were pledge master.
Yeah, I think like Lindsay said, on a smaller campus, you have the opportunity to take on a leadership role if you want. Both Lindsay and I know have held multiple e-board positions in our organizations. And I think it's just sort of once you get a taste of it, like you aren't elected president first, but once you get a taste of some sort of position, it just kind of makes you hungry for more. You become more involved. You care even more about your organization. And then once that's instilled in you, it just kind of grows and burns. And then you want to take on other leadership positions and other things on campus that you're involved in. It's SGA or SAO or whatever else it is. You want to, you just want to take that next step. And I think it really inspires confidence in yourself that you can do it. You've seen yourself do it in Greek life, so why not apply it somewhere else? And it kind of leads you to the kind of person you want to become. Yeah,
I know for myself, nurses are told all the time that you're the patient advocate and you're the one there, and that's kind of how I relate to it, and especially any other medical profession, or even yourself, like, no matter what your major is, like, you always have to advocate for yourself. And going through this and having these leadership positions where you have to advocate for different members in your organization or your organization as a whole, then gives you the confidence to do it for yourself later on in life, like, no matter if it's for a job or for another person, just, like, realizing that you have the confidence in knowing how to speak to a group of people and using that in all aspects of your life, not just Greek life, but getting yourself out there and being confident enough to hold yourself in that way, I think is a really big deal. And I think sets a lot of people that are from St. Francis apart, because we all get those experiences if we desire them, and then we can go and use those to be a better person outside and advocate for people that might need it, or for ourselves if we need it sometimes.
Yeah, I think at St. Francis too, like, once the people, and since we have smaller organizations, a lot of you're really close with everyone in your group, And I think that the people who take on leadership positions are the same people who get talked about for a while, and they say, when whoever was president, or when they were the pledge master, and that's what you get remembered. So I think it makes you really more connected to your organization because you're entrusted with that responsibility. But at the same time, it kind of sets you up then to be the person in 10 years when you're listening to the alumni podcast, and the people in your organization say, "Oh yeah, wasn't he the president? What did he do during his term?" and things like that.
It's a never-ending cycle of wanting to help the organization, and then you grow to care for it even more, and then you want to help even more. It's just a cycle, and it pretty much never ends, because I know both of our advisors as well as other Greek organization advisors are extremely active in our chapters, just because they see how much work that we put into it, as much work as they put into it, and then your love for that organization just grows from that.
Yeah, and I think we're a small sample size of only 2, but I think I see that through every organization on campus. You can see that they have they produce leaders, and they take leadership positions in other organizations, and again, they just build that same care for their organization.
Do you believe the future of Greek life is bright?
Yeah,
I do. Definitely changing, I think, but I do believe it's bright.
I think if you just keep in mind the importance of each chapter and the values that you are trying to instill in your new members, then as long as those continue to happen in the process and people are coming out better people than when they started, as long as you keep the traditions that matter, like everyone talks about, and you just keep an open mind with change, I think that, I hope in 30 years I can come back here and go to the Kappa house and see the frogs on the walls and know exactly where they came from. I hope it never really goes anywhere, because that would be, that's who made me who I am. So to see if that were to go, if it were to be discontinued or whatever, that would be a part of me that was lost.
I think it would be a massive loss for not only our campus, but college people everywhere. I do think the future of Greek life is bright. I think it's an uphill battle at this point. Everyone knows about the negative headlines and stigmas associated with Greek life. But I think in particular, St. Francis has a bright future. And I think that, we as a Greek community continue to show the benefits of Greek life and why we need this here and how much good it can do.
Because without finding your people, I don't think I would be at St. Francis anymore, honestly. So this organization is what kept me here and what made me love St. Francis. And then I grew to love other things about it. But this is initially what kept me here. So I think it's bright because it's what's keeping a lot of people here, honestly.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely it's impacted my life in every single way, every day, and since I've joined, and it continues to. So definitely a hugely important part of the college experience.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys for sharing your experiences and memories with us, and the alumni who will be listening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yep.